Hey there, folks. It's the frequency from beyond space and time, at the same time, every time. You're listening to Mad Tower Radio.
Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Mad Tower Radio. The big 2-0, our 20th episode. It's not really any sort of crazy landmark occasion, but you know, we're just plugging along. My name is Dan, and I'm joined by my co-host Christian.
Yeah, it's nice to see the number tick over.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And if you're new to the show here on Mad Tower Radio, Christian and I do a show and tell of interesting stories of things that can be written off as the unexplained, cryptids, conspiracies, ghost stories, anything that's kind of interesting and out there. We bring it up on this show. One at a time. And, yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it.
Is there, anything you want to sort of, like, lead in with your topic today? Because you kept it pretty mysterious this week.
Yeah. So, just this past weekend, me and some of the guys got together, Christian included, and we were watching a movie over Discord that I had seen once before and that you hadn't seen. I really wanted to show the movie to you, but the movie was Horse Girl on Netflix, which is a great movie about this girl who believes she may be getting abducted by aliens.
Yeah, and it's not like a one big abduction. It's like a nightly like testing type thing. It was really interesting. Yeah.
And the way they did it in that movie was they took a lot of these common, like, I guess, abduction tropes.
Sure.
And to, like, kind of imply that she was getting abducted. Like, the scene where she, like, fell asleep at 11:02, like they made sure to focus on her alarm clock that said like 11:02, and she falls asleep, and she's like a chronic sleepwalker, and like she wakes up in the middle of like the street, like she's like down the street from her house, like holding on to a payphone, and then she's like, "Oh, what the hell? This is the craziest sleepwalking experience I've ever had." And then, like, she goes home and gets back in bed, and her alarm clock only says 11:04. You know?
Personally terrifying to me, yeah.
I knew that movie was going to terrify you because of the sleepwalking.
Well, even before they bring up really the alien aspect of it, it's just a really tense and really awkward movie. And, like, one of the first shots is like her roommate's boyfriend walking into the kitchen, and she's just staring at a wall in the dark kitchen, and it's pretty sick for those like one-off moments.
Yeah, it's a great film. But this is not a movie review podcast. But I was inspired by Horse Girl to maybe talk about aliens. I think it's an untapped market. We mention it here and there. We talked about the Ozma question a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we brought up the Mantis aliens in our second episode.
Or, yeah, longtime fans will remember Adolf Hitler's alliance with the aliens.
But just not too much. And I kind of want to get into aliens for the next couple episodes because there's a whole fucking pantheon of, like, aliens that exist in, I guess, modern folklore, modern conspiracies. Like, if you know any of them, but there's like the Greys, there's like the Nords, the Reptilians, the Blues, like there's just a shitload of them.
So
it might be fun to talk about.
Trying to sort of run the gambit on these things, hit a couple.
Yeah, we're gonna see what's interesting.
Sweet.
Probably gonna talk about alien themed stuff, but today I want to do talk about abductions in general.
Classic. Okay.
Now, abduction stories, they started around like the 1950s on a widespread scale. But like before those, most of the like there were like isolated stories of alien abductions or like alien encounters in general. And they're like, I don't know, I was reading a couple of them and one of them was like, yeah, these odd looking chaps, they were very slender and very tall. I don't know what their problem was. And it was like from like the 1880s.
These strange skinny blokes.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god.
Okay.
But, you know, alien abductions, it's like one of the easiest things to write off, you know?
In what sense?
A lot of people are just like, oh, you're lying, or like, you're actually a fucking schizo.
You think, like, that it's become sort of a shorthand or an easily dismissible threat?
I don't know. I believe that there's people out there that believe they were abducted.
Okay.
You know, go back to that. Like, I believe that that is what you believe, but I don't know what happened. But no, like, they write it off as false memory, sleep paralysis, suggestion,
carbon
deception,
monoxide poisoning.
Carbon monoxide poisoning, psychopathology. There was one really interesting thing. Let me pull up my notes.
Mm-hmm.
I should have had them up from the get, but I'm a shitty podcaster.
Do you think that you said that they started to really flare up in the 1950s? Do you think that's because of like the general like collective conscious is really thinking about space flight and travel and like what could be out there after, you know, certain technological advances of the time?
That it could be that, as well as like, you know, I mean, sure, there was no real reason to look up before that. You know what I mean?
I mean, besides like seeing Hermes and Apollo carrying the sun around, yeah.
Like, it's gonna sound like I'm one of those guys who's just super dismissive of these people, because aliens, UFOs is like, that's the farthest away from anything that I've experienced, you know?
Yeah.
Like, talking about our personal experiences last week, it's kind of leaned more towards paranormal, you know?
Which is disappointing, but the truth.
But, like, I've not seen anything where I was like, is that a UFO? I've never seen anything wacky in the sky, no grays, no nothing. So, like, it's a little harder for me to, I guess, identify and sympathize with these people. But
find that interesting because I feel like if you were to ask just like a general old person on the street if they were more skeptical about either like a beast in the woods like a rougarou or a chupacabra or aliens in the sky, I would find that people will be pretty more sympathetic towards alien life.
Really? I was going to say the opposite.
Interesting. I
think I think people would be more sympathetic towards like ghosts and like stuff like that.
Yeah, I do kind of compartmentalize those certain paranormal things into like, okay, like the cryptid type things and the supernatural type things and like the extraterrestrial type things. Like yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's like the two paths you can take when you start to look at unexplainable, mysterious stuff like this is like, you can go the cryptid route or you can go like the alien route.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know. It's not classified very well in our profession. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, back on track. So there's this interesting article on the Wikipedia page for alien abductions that talks about the demographics of abductees. right?
Okay.
And so under the mental health category, it says that it's pretty much you can find equal parts of abduction claim. You can find abductees, I guess I'm going to call them the rest of the time.
Sure.
But it said you can find equal parts of abductees that have severe mental health issues, and you can find just as many that don't. You know, like they did actual studies.
Is that something where, like, when somebody comes and reports this type of interaction, do they then give the mental examination, or is that like cross-referenced with medical records? Like, how does that square out?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't look too much into the study. There wasn't a link to it, but it's a blind study.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. It was a blind experiment, meaning that information that might influence the subjects was withheld from them until the experiment was complete.
Yeah, I guess.
But I don't know how in-depth it was where they were accessing medical records or anything like that. I don't think it could have been like that due to like patient confidentiality and shit like that. So they probably just met, like, one person met with fucking 10 abductees and the other person met with another 10 abductees, and they just fucking cross-reference them, I guess.
So
the study was done by, one of the studies was done by Harvard Medical School.
I
So
was just gonna ask, what does the result say to you then about abductions?
means I think it says to me that it's as inconclusive as ever.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what you saw. This is like gang stalking, man. If you run up to someone, I could run up to my wife with all the sincerity in the world and tell her that I was abducted by aliens, and I don't think she would believe me unless it happened to her too. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't want to bring her into this, but I don't know if she's an ally to the alien race.
No, definitely not. But like, you know, even my mom, dad, like, I think the most that I could get them to sympathize is that they would say, like, I believe that you believe.
And that's not much.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not much. That's pretty much a roundabout way of saying you're a schizoid.
Yeah, if they were feeling, light that day, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But then, so I don't think mental health is like a factor, I guess.
All right.
Well, it definitely is. I definitely believe there's people out there who, need help, and they're having delusions that manifest in the form of alien abductions. Right? But, I don't know. Maybe there are people out there that are getting abducted. But then the next part of the demographics is, political scientist Michael Barkin, I don't know, without taking a position on if UFOs and aliens are real, highlighted links between radical politics and conspiracy theories involving UFOs, alien visitation, environmental pollution, hidden groups, government, and world takeover.
Sure. All of that makes sense to me.
He observed the rise of a form of eclectic and apocalyptic millenarism, which he termed improvisational millenarism. 2 words I've never heard before in my life. UFO and abduction stories can often be part of stigmatized or suppressed knowledge narratives, where alleged orthodoxy is claimed to be maintained in error for nefarious purpose and to keep society in ignorance. So this guy's pretty much just saying, like, crazy that all these crazy whack conspiracy dudes that are on the street telling you about fucking Joe Biden, like, crazy that they also were abducted by aliens.
I'm trying to put now the first piece of data that you gave me and the second piece of data together, and I don't think those dots are, fairly connected.
No, you don't think so?
I don't think, like medical, like health and radicalism.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're talking about the mental health and the political conspiracy theories. I mean, they're no, I don't see the connection.
Okay.
I mean, like, a lot of this is sounding really familiar to gang stalking. You know?
Yeah. Now that I'm looking at it.
Do you because if you remember when we were talking about gang stalking, if you look crazy, it's working, right? Like, that is the whole point, is to make you look like a fucking nut.
Isn't there a term or something for, like, no matter what you throw at a conspiracy theory, it only seeks to, like, self-motivate it? Like, no wonder we can't know the truth because it's part of the conspiracy, or no wonder, they're in...
Yes, there is a name for it, but I don't know what it is.
It kind of feels like that folds into this as well. Like, of course, the all-powerful beings who control the world are going to hide this because, they have the ability to, and it benefits the spooky, mysterious them.
Yeah, it, like, there's always a they, there's always a them, there's always, like, a bigger thing behind the scenes that they're not even gonna name. And they're just like, oh yeah, it's because of them. And it's like, oh, who's them? And it's like, you wouldn't get it. It's a wacky, I didn't think this was going to be that sensitive of a subject getting into it, but holy shit, here we are. Yeah, I don't see the connection between the mental health and the political conspiracies, but I don't even know if you'd qualify that as a demographic, But another interesting part of the demographic is children.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So let me get into these notes. Abduction and other UFO-related reports are usually made by adults, but sometimes young children report similar experiences. Child reports often feature very specific details in common with the reports of abduction made by adults, right? And often these young abductees have family members who have reported having abduction experiences, family involvement in the military, or a residence near a military base. So interesting to me.
Okay.
It brings out the whole Area 51, Roswell, like, crazy shit flying around in the night.
Yeah, I'm putting myself in a kid's headspace. Like, their parents are gone at weird hours, things are kind of strange, and you see these lights, you hear these jets or something's going on. Yeah.
I mean, I brought this up before. I don't know what I brought it up for, but when alien abduction stories are blowing the hell up in initially in the 50s, in the 60s, I can see a whole swath of, like, people just being like, they're making it up. They're just making it up because they want their 15 minutes of fame. Like, oh, I got abducted.
Or like copycat reports.
Yeah, copycat reports. I got abducted.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, in the year of our Lord, 2021, what benefit do you have to publicly claim that you were abducted by aliens other than everyone's gonna fucking write you off as a nut job?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not exactly like the hot, cool thing, for sure. Yeah.
So why are people still claiming this, right? I mean, I'm not trying to throw that down on the table like it's proof or anything, but I think it merits mention in the discussion.
Like, if if somebody today were to expect some kind of poor reaction, that they would still go through with it, that they would still, make these claims?
Can you say that again? I think I lost you for a second there.
Like that, like you were saying, today people aren't really as positive about people coming out and saying that maybe there was a alien encounter in their lives. But even if they were to face some of these negative receptions or some blowback from it, they still continue to report these. They still will face that potential negativity.
I think it just is representative of, my favorite word, conviction.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously, right, there's communities out there to these days. There's a whole shitload of UFO watch communities. Fucking MUFON is one of them. Mutual UFO Network. There's abduction. There's abductee support groups, bro.
Good.
Alcoholics Anonymous for fucking people who got abducted by aliens.
Good for them. I hope they have the support.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing that is happening, to this day. It's crazy. And I don't know. Is there... I'm just trying to see if there's merit to any of it, right?
I mean, when, looking at it in a sort of wide view, and we're getting this, data from, demographics and things like that, do you think that helps you see anything more clearly, or do you find, some of these really specific, personal stories are more convincing to you?
Well, the personal story that I found, and I was going to feature on this episode, is really, really fucking wacky.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking... It'll definitely end my segment on a lighter note. I'll just say that. But,
okay.
I don't know. I mean, if I could talk to any of these people, I guess I'd talk to the ones who were found to not have any mental health issues, and I guess not be fucking screaming about Satiko satellite on the street. Just the normal, quote unquote, normal people who think that they were fucking abducted by an alien and listen what they have to say. And I mean, I know we talked about the Ozma question, and that's probably the most scientific we've ever gotten on this show, but let's throw that to the wind because that's boring. They're here.
Well, if an alien is picking me up and sending me on their sweet spaceship, why are they putting me back down?
Funny that you ask that, because there are actually enough abduction stories and abduction accounts out there for there to be... Let me restart that sentence. There's enough abduction encounters and stories out there that they were actually able to build a general outline of abductions.
Right? A list of commonalities between them, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's rad.
So check this out. Right. Number 1, capture. The abductee is somehow rendered incapable of resisting and taken from terrestrial surroundings to an apparent alien spacecraft. Number 2, examination procedures. Invasive physiological and psychological procedures, and on occasion simulated behavioral situations, training and testing, or sexual liaisons. 3 is conference. The abductors communicate with the abductee or direct them to interact with specific individuals for some purpose, typically telepathically, but sometimes using the abductee's native language. Number 4 is tour. The abductees are given a tour of their captor's vessel.
What?
Though this is disputed by some researchers who consider this definition a confabulation of intent, with just apparently being taken around to multiple places inside the ship. Number 5 is loss of time. Abductees often rapidly forget the majority of their experience, either as a result of fear, medical intervention, or both. Number 6 is return. The abductees are returned to Earth, occasionally in a different location from where they were allegedly taken, or with new injuries or disheveled clothing. Number 7 is theophany. Coinciding with their immediate return, abductees may have a profound sense of love, a high similar to those induced by drugs, or a mystical experience accompanied by a feeling of oneness with God, the universe, or their abductors. Whether this is the result of a metaphysical change, Stockholm syndrome, or prior medical tampering is often not scrutinized by the abductees at this time. Number 8 is aftermath. The abductee must cope with the psychological, physical, and social effects of the experience.
Yeah.
So those are the 8 most common, I guess, abduction factors.
I found the most interesting, the tour. I feel like I've not really heard that one a lot, that they're taking you around the ship afterwards.
Well, like it said, it's disputed that, like, they might, I don't know. I guess it's disputed that they're just being taken to multiple places inside the ship, or whether the little green men are like, no, hey, check it out. This is our fucking virtual reality room.
And
yeah,
all of these seem, or for the most part, sound like they're experimental in a way. Like it's like information gathering.
Well, yeah, that's what they go with. A lot of abduction stories, like, I get from what I've seen, they go down a path of, like, you're being experimented on, medically examined, blah, 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 blah. And then the other one that I've seen that is less common, is, like, the aliens are there to, like, talk to you and treat with you, and I guess they're, like, psychologically experimenting with you, not like a invasive medical process.
You come down and have like a sit down interview with one of these dudes.
Yeah, like an interview, I guess.
That's really interesting. Yeah. And
there's even been some reports where, like, the aliens are giving them a warning, like, you guys are destroying your planet with pollution and nuclear bombs and war. Like, you guys need to stop, or like, you're gonna die. And I'm like, that's pretty sweet.
I'm in with those aliens. Yeah.
I'm in with those aliens too. That's pretty badass. But it's a whole fucking, like, this is why I want to take my next couple segments talking about aliens, because there's just so much here. I wanted to give a broad overview before I started focusing in on things. But to me, I guess the most interesting abduction factor is loss of time to me.
Okay.
Because you could, like, not even have an abduction experience. Like, you could just not remember a single thing about that, and you're, like, sitting on your porch drinking a beer on a Friday night, and then you're right back there opening a beer, and then you check your watch and it's like 4 hours later. Like, that would be fucking horrifying to me.
I mean, if something like that were to happen to me, I would probably, go get an examination for a stroke.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, that kind of brings in the final factor that you mentioned, is like the aftermath. Like, you have to reconcile with what you believe just happened.
Yeah.
And you're painting a pretty horrifying picture of, like, someone suspecting this just happened to them. And, like, how do you go about living your life after that?
Yeah, exactly. Like, do you just, like, shut up about it? What if it happens again?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, fuck that. And what would be even worse, I think what would be even worse is if you go to the doctor and they're like, nah, bro, you're in tip-top shape. And it's like, no. I was abducted by aliens.
Happened.
And they're like, I don't know, man. Like, you're fine physically, you're fine mentally. Like, yeah, I don't know what happened.
Like, I feel
and you're just left to stew with it.
Yeah, I'm imagining, like, sitting on the examination table after, like, the CAT scan and the MRI and the psychological evaluation, and they're like, no, nothing's here. Like,
yeah. What option do you have after that? I mean, abduction support groups, it is. Like, that would be horrible. That'd be a horrible thing to experience.
Does an abduction inherently imply a return? Like, do they have to give you back? Like, do some people just get picked up and taken away forever?
No, I don't know. because I didn't come across anything here. But, like, that's another thing. Why is, like, I mean, I guess there wouldn't be stories if the aliens never put them back, you know?
If I'm applying biological study, like, practices to some other form, some other creature, like, we don't, like, take animals and then study them. And then, like, do we throw them back into the woods? I guess so. I guess there's some, like, catch and release type studying.
A really popular thing that we do in fucking, like, to this day is, like, we just tag animals and then leave them back into the wild. And then, like, we just see what they're doing out there. Like, they're GPS tagged. Sometimes they're camera tagged. Like...
Oh, yeah. I'm remembering that article about, like, they tagged those whales and they, like, painted the map of where they all traveled. Okay.
Yeah. So...
Do people ever report those type, like, the I'm being tracked type thing? Like, the apparatuses are still in me type abduction?
I haven't come across a lot of encounters where they were, like, multiple abductions. There's some, they exist, but not a majority.
Like a repeat offender type thing?
Yeah. A lot of people are just like a one and done.
Okay. Something just came to me. Are we ever going to go into, like, why anal probing is such a common, like, thing in our culture about it? Like, why is that so pervasive?
No, I don't know. I don't know where the origin of the alien anal probing came from.
I always thought it was so weird that is so synonymous with this kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's probably the first thing you think of. Oh, I was abducted by aliens. Actually, I started a fucking X Takes thread about, like, just to see if any of the fucking lurkers on X got fucking abducted by aliens and what are some common signs of being abducted. And, they didn't bite for that one. They didn't bite. They weren't into it.
They didn't even hit you with the haha anal probe jokes?
No, they did. That was all I got was, like, fuck you, and, like, the comment that I got was, I said, how can you tell, like, what are some common signs of, like, getting abducted? And this guy replies, he goes, if you sit down and it hurts.
Christ.
I'm like, oh my god.
Got it.
I was like, alright, fuck you guys. Assholes. But, yeah, alien abductions, alien fucking everything, it's fucking whacked, and I can't wait to focus in on some of the crazier aspects of, like, the alien phenomena, like, religions? You know anything about alien religions?
Like, religions that are synchronizing with some of these, like, extraterrestrial ideas? Or, like, are people praying out there?
Oh, I guess we'll just talk about it next week.
Sweet.
Let me get into an encounter story that I found online on Phantoms and Monsters. It is, like, insane from start to finish. Oops, forgot to mute my phone. So let me just get into it. Here's the headline. Alien Greys forcibly abduct Indianapolis couple over 2-week period.
Okay. Long term?
Yeah. Well, here we go. In 2012, I was living with my then girlfriend in Indianapolis, Indiana, when one night we were visited by a very slender, very tall, and extremely hostile gray alien. And real quick side note, if you don't know what the Greys are, they're like the classic alien, where it's like really skinny, has a huge head, and like giant black eyes, and its skin is like gray.
Classic.
I was taken from my bed and dragged across the floor where we phased through the wall in the backyard. Hovering silently just above the treetops was a semi-translucent triangular craft with each one of the 3 points disappearing beyond the horizon. It was massive. It was the biggest thing I've ever seen in the sky. I remember thinking it was part of the sky, but as we neared the center of my backyard, its edges became illuminated by a strange, extremely bright, pulsating bluish-white light. In the center was a dull red light, which seemed to be the dullest at its edges and slowly becoming brighter in the center. I got the sense it was some kind of weapon. Then the bluish-white lights flashed like lightning. The next thing I remember is waking up face down on the lawn, my clothes inside out and backwards, my socks completely gone and never found. I had the feeling of seasickness with rubbery legs and general confusion, which I have experienced before in a concussion. I was discovered extremely traumatized by my girlfriend who had been searching for me. Upon entering the house, it appeared to have been ransacked. Both of our pit bulls were unexplainably locked in a spare bedroom. My girlfriend began explaining her experience with the same entity, which I had not described to her yet. She claimed it had the ability to modify reality and made itself look like me. She had sex with who she thought was me. She passed out during the encounter. She woke up that morning terrified, nude, and laying in our walk-in closet with no recollection of going in there. She then discovered I was missing, and then subsequently discovered me laying in the backyard. All of the electronics in the house were fried. For about 2 weeks, it returned every night. For that entire 2 weeks, I didn't speak of anything that happened. I was extremely withdrawn and afraid. The neighbors witnessed the craft and the lights in the sky as well. They also noticed my girlfriend's odd behavior during this time. Then suddenly, it all stopped. I've lived in extreme fear ever since then. I was a skeptic before this. Now I am an UFOologist myself. One thing I forgot to mention was how it smelled. We both recalled it having a strange, moldy, cinnamon-like smell to it that, for me, reminded me oddly of like the sleeping gas at the dentist. What'd you think about that?
I'm just sort of, I'm letting all the layers just sort of wash over me for a second. Like,
it's balls to the fucking wall from start to finish.
It took so many turns. Like, I didn't expect her to sleep with the alien.
That was when I read that line, because this story's just going along. I'm like, oh wow, wacky
Abductions, yeah.
It's like, yeah, and then my girlfriend had sex with the gray, and I'm like, whoa. When I read that line, I was like, this is going on the show.
It feels to me like maybe they, dropped something, and then they had some sort of flashbacks. They had those re-trips.
Really?
They were, people report like taking.
So that doesn't sound like it has any merit to you.
I mean, I'm approaching it from a pretty firm, skeptical side, but let me look at it from the other cheek, so to speak. These dudes are too strong, if so. It doesn't look good for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. It does not look good for us.
The phasing through reality, the apparently city-wide stealth/mind
cloak. That's weird.
The
gigantic fucking ship.
Body morphing ability. Like, these dudes are the apex species, if so.
Yeah, it's... the part that's a little weird is that supposedly the girlfriend started mentioning it before he said anything.
That feels like one of those details you throw in to be like, see, I'm not just making this all up. She totally said she saw it too.
Yeah, for sure.
But if it is true and this home was accosted by something, it's also interesting that the neighbors have something to say.
Yeah, I don't get that about the neighbors. Like, was he just watching? Was he like, oh, better you than me, buddy?
Like, he saw his two neighbors just mething it up for 2 weeks.
I don't
and
know.
just decided not to say
seems
anything.
More likely. I don't know. This story seems out there. It's wacky. It's lacking detail. You know, like it happened for a week, supposedly. What happened?
Just nightly visits.
I don't know. But I still thought that was fucking hilarious.
I mean, I feel like it hits all the notes of like what I in my mind associate with an alien abduction. You know, it's kind of out there in terms of like supernatural like stories. And it has to reconcile with being in a modern world. Like there's some people who think alien abduction sightings or things like that are just plummeting because everyone has a cell phone. So it leaves me in a weird spot moving forward with this topic.
How so?
Because like if this is the abduction stories that we work with now, like moving forward, it's not just, you know, I woke up on the slab and they stuck a thermometer in my ear and then showed me their ship. Now it's like I woke up in the dirt, they fucked my girlfriend, I phased through the walls. It's escalating.
I woke up in the dirt and they fucked my girlfriend. Yeah, that is a little wacky. It is fucking escalating, huh?
I'm into it. I'm more interested to hear about like some of the other aspects you've got for us, though.
Well, I'm also looking forward to diving deeper into the alien phenomenon, I guess. But I think I'm gonna cap it out there. You know,
sweet.
Next week I'll be able to come back laser focused on some sort of alien topic. Maybe the alien religions. We'll see what's going on with that, and just really start honing in on this fucking wacky shit that's happening.
And I like this new sort of format, this like multiple episode deep dive kind of thing. I'm very interested to see how this goes.
I wanted to do it before, and it kind of fell apart in my hands. But like, aliens are just so fucking like. There's so much that I'm like, well, let's just do it on this.
It's a rich topic for sure.
Oh yeah, but you know, without further ado, I'm excited to hear what you brought.
Great. So this is the last topic to be birthed from my like very inspired week of reading the three body problem. I had, you know, the step demons idea, the Ozma problem idea, and this one all in that week, and I gave them all like a big collective study session. So
now you have to actually study.
I know. I was 3 weeks ahead, and then I squandered it by not like getting the next subject ready when I had a couple weeks of time. So today I've got for you the AEE, that is the atmospheric etheric energy theory.
What is that?
And so we're going to tackle this in a we're going to take a path from scientific to fucking out there, and the longer I go, the wackier it's going to go.
Alright.
So let me just start at the beginning. We're going to keep this very grounded in, you know, physics and numbers and scientists with names, and then we'll get wacky on the back end. So the idea is, before we had a really good understanding of, you know, nothingness, like you wave your hand through the air and there's, you know, nothing.
Yeah.
There was the concept of a void or an emptiness of space.
Like, we talking about like a real void? Like actually nothing? Whereas like when I wave my hand around, I'm bouncing off fucking air molecules.
Yeah, before that. Before we had this idea of, air and
Okay.
that, so I believe it was like a Greek understanding of the void is, everything between solid objects. It's the nothingness.
That's weird. That's strange.
Then as, science progresses and we understand that it isn't nothing between us.
Yeah.
It's trace matter, it's molecules, there's oxygen, even in like space, sometimes it isn't when you go higher up into the atmosphere, there's still space, but
yeah,
when you break out of the atmosphere and you are in space, is that nothing?
That's got me thinking, like, how much nothingness does there need to be for it to be officially declared a void? Because voids are real. Let me send you something. I don't know if you came upon this.
Yeah, I'd be happy to see it.
Research. But there's this astronomical event called super voids, or just like voids, and it's cosmic voids are vast spaces between filaments which contain very few or no galaxies. So I guess you have to be like without a galaxy to be considered a void.
Oh, you're talking like massive cosmic kinds of voids?
Massive fucking cosmic voids. And I was reading about that and I was like, I should not have read about that.
That's kind of troubling now that you bring it up.
I don't want to know what lies in wait in the cosmic void.
Well, the reason I bring up the nothingness is that there, amongst certain scientists and believers of etheric energy, there has been sort of a U-type understanding. It went from like a void of nothingness to molecules, air, to the void again, and that there's this empty energy that connects everyone and everything. And some scientists began sort of tackling this really in a place grounded in science.
So it kind of went full circle?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm going for. And
okay.
When this I don't know if he's an astronomer or a physicist, probably both. His name is Winfried Otto Schumann.
Winfried Otto Schumann.
He was a man who was examining this really weird phenomenon that had been observed for a very long time in sort of atmospheric observations and atmospheric studies. That there was this...
Oh, our friend Schumann was brought to America under Operation Paperclip.
Oh yeah, he was one of the Paperclip guys. I should probably put that in there.
Wow.
He
okay.
there's an observable pulse to the planet. Like
is that what he's claiming?
Yes, that there. Even before Schumann, there's many classic like astronomers and physicists who are saying like there's this kind of energy that we're observing, and nobody could really put a finger on it until Schumann. And
yeah,
he was able to bring it down to like the decimal point frequency. He observed this pulse of 7.83 hertz.
Okay.
That is just infinitely bouncing and pulsing from the Earth, and it bounces off the ionosphere and back down to the planet.
Huh.
And he had claims that this is some kind of like etheric earthly pulse, or an etheric earthly energy that emanates from the planet and that is synced up with the world.
Like, kind of like a living Earth?
Yeah, it has a little bit of living Earth to it. And he had combined it with a couple of studies that would say, you know, humans are attuned to this frequency. You know,
Really?
we're subconsciously a part of this like beating heart that the earth is giving us.
What the fuck?
And there was this like brain electrochemistry study that found that the sort of signals and pulses in our brain were also being sent at 7.83 hertz.
That's factual. That's true.
Let me tell you, I am not standing here as a scientist, but from the research I have found is that there is some kind of signal in the brain wave that perfectly matches this frequently observed pulse in the ionosphere.
What the fuck?
And that we were able to look at this in a like Earth-wide system, and that it provides this rhythm to the Earth, and that on the peaks and valleys of the Earth's pulse, there are frequent, what's the word? Lightning storms, like lightning pulses in beat with the Earth's rhythm.
What?
I was getting deep into this thing, and they were showing these charts and these maps of the globe, and they're like, when the pulse is on this beat, there are tons of lightning storms in South America, and there's tons of lightning storms in Africa.
So this man's out here like trying to predict weather with it?
I think he was just trying to say that like the Earth kind of pumps to this rhythm.
That's crazy.
And there was an experiment conducted with a bunch of college students.
Yeah.
Where they wanted to see what would happen if humans were removed from the Earth's pulse for a very long time. So they took these fucking college kids and stuck them in this lead-lined bunker for 4 months. Underground.
All right.
And he was like, see, their sleep schedules got fucked up. Their minds got whacked up because they weren't able to receive the Earth's rhythm.
What?
And I was like, I don't know, dude. If you locked me in like a lead bunker for 4 months, my sleep schedule will probably get fucked too.
That's fucking... I mean, yeah. If you cut them off from sunlight and all that good shit, like, yeah, they're probably gonna go, like, if they have no internal clock, like, sure, they're gonna fuck up their sleep schedules and shit like that, but, I mean, you also don't have to be locked in a fucking lead bunker to fuck up your sleep schedule. I do it every weekend.
See, he had supposed that because no radio frequencies could get through, that our circadian rhythms are tied to the Earth's pulse, and that was what caused the irritability and the mental instability and the sleep loss, was like being outside of the frequency of the Earth.
That is very, very strange.
And moving... Oh, we're going to take like a tiny little step into like the meta aspects. Certain people report like being more attuned to the Earth's natural energies than others.
Yeah.
And there are frequent reportings of things called the hum.
What is the hum?
That is a mass reporting of an unexplainable low-level, like, whining or humming that a huge group of people just somehow get clicked onto, and it, like, towns get it for, like, weeks.
Is that like if you're sitting in the house by yourself, like, you can kind of hear that low pitch whine in your ear?
Yes.
Is he claiming that that's the pulse of the earth?
Except they would be that, but every single person in your town gets it, and then it doesn't go away.
Like tinnitus?
Yes, like widespread tinnitus.
That's fucking crazy.
And that there's some people that take that a step further, and they say that because it's sort of this wave that doesn't operate on the visual spectrum, sometimes when you get those little shadows in the corner of your eyes, that's you attuning to the earth a little bit.
No fucking way.
Like
what the hell are you talking about?
The little peripherals. Like I said, we're gonna sort of slip away from science pretty quickly as we keep on going.
Oh my god.
There are people who find this to be a natural curative. Like if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling just like a general sense of like despair, maybe not depression, but like this like little oppressive atmosphere. If you go out, into nature, get attuned with the earth's forces, like that's supposed to be a huge curative force for people.
Yeah.
And
what?
So, and before we take the dive off the deep end, how do you feel about the idea that the earth is just sort of pumping this vibe out for you to absorb at all times?
I mean, I can get down with like harmony and nature and like, peace, love, one with the earth. Like I'm down with that, but like it's from what you're telling me, it sounds like they're like kind of turning it into like a astrology crystal thing. Like the homie's gonna try to sell me like some tuning forks.
I'm glad you said that.
Oh god.
So from my research, there's a very hard line between the things that Schumann was doing back in the day and like the current iterations of this phenomenon.
Okay.
I found like 10 websites where it was super like peace, love, and free spirit. Like you've got to attune with the earth's rhythm. The 7.83 is like our brainwave, and you got to like get in sync every once in a while.
Of course.
And this dude was selling a personal harmonizer.
Uh-huh.
And he said, like, if you stick it in your body, it'll help amplify the Earth's natural etheric vibrations, and it'll better attune you to its frequency.
Okay.
And I clicked on the store page, and I just couldn't find anything. Like the page, either it's sold out, or he had lapsed on his domain, but I really wanted to see like what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like a tuning fork that you bit onto, or if it was like a rod you shoved in your ass or something.
Yeah.
But the people have really, really ran with this atmospheric, etheric energy idea in the modern day.
So,
yeah.
Do you know who Gwyneth Paltrow is?
Yeah, I know Gwyneth Paltrow.
So she runs this giant scam beauty company called like Goop.
Yeah, I know the Goop.
And she's out here trying to sell like resonance stickers.
This is exactly like that, yeah.
Like, listen to this. Body Vibes stickers come pre-programmed to an ideal frequency, allowing them to target imbalances. While you're wearing them close to your heart, on your left shoulder or arm, they'll fill in the deficiencies in your reserves, creating a calming effect, smoothing out both physical tension and anxiety. The founders, both aestheticians, also say they help clear skin by reducing inflammation and boosting cell turnover. Like, fuck you. You're a fucking liar.
These are like those balance bracelets that kids wore.
It's a goddamn sticker. Yeah. Oh my god, I remember those.
It's like, this is gonna run your chi up.
I remember those. Yeah. Here, wear this fucking little braided bracelet, and you can do like parkour backflips or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was stupid. It was so stupid. And they were always like, look, we're going to demonstrate it on strangers at the mall to show you what works. And it's like, they would stand there and they would be like, all right, you don't have the bracelet on, right? And they'd be like, yeah, no bracelet. And the guy would just like yank on their wrist until they like almost fell over. And then he would like, all right, now we're going to try this again with the bracelet on. And then they were magically like, just never even budged. I'm like, what is this bullshit?
That's definitely someone trying to cash out on a similar market to the goop.
It is. Resonance stickers and fucking balance bracelets. Oh man, I forgot about those. I was like 11 and I was like, Mom, I need a balance bracelet.
No.
She's like, no, you don't. And I'm like, yes, I do. She's like, no, you don't. She's like, it's fake. And I'm like, it's not fake. Look at the commercial.
Did you think it was gonna like boost your energy for the soccer tryouts?
No. I mean, maybe yeah in my head. Maybe yeah in my head I thought I was gonna like go freak out and go crazy, go stupid. But I'm just glad I never got one because I would have been so disappointed. Oh, no. Man. So fucking stupid. People will take anything interesting and turn it into a goddamn scam.
They want to sell you their cheap, shitty plastic. They'll tell you whatever they need to.
Yeah. Oh my god. Power balance silicone wristband. How much are they?
Today? Have they still have their potency?
They're on Amazon. $10.
Hold on.
$10 and you could be fucking doing shadow clone jutsu.
Does it tell you what happens if I wear 5? Or is that not allowed?
What if I wear 5 balance bracelets? Bad news. Those popular are secretly sending radiation into your body.
Oh, shit.
Secret, man.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm glad you brought up this sort of power boosting abilities of, you know, radio waves and energy vibes.
Yeah.
Because this story really takes a turn when you talk about the ancient etherical empire.
That was the tag. That was what you started with, and I was like, when are we getting to this?
Yes.
So I'm ready to hear this whack-ass shit that you got for me.
So, doing all of that homework, all of that science and fact building will let you finally enjoy the idea of the etherical empire. It was a civilization that was able to tune itself to the vibes, to the energy waves of the earth, and it granted them powers.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they were using Gwyneth's fucking resonance stickers, and so they could fucking cast fireball or some shit.
It was not as shiny, it's not as flashy as fireball, but it did allow them to build superstructures, really big, beautiful cathedrals and buildings. It was called Tartaria.
Tartaria.
Do you know where the Tartars are from?
No, please tell me.
The Tartars is an outdated term for like the Russian steppes by the Caspian Sea.
Ah, okay.
Like they used to be called the Tartars, but we've moved past that now.
Is it racist?
You know,
Tartars?
if you say any word from like the 1600s. You're kind of just like throwing at a dartboard of racism.
Yeah. Is that where tartar sauce is from?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, well, I was just curious.
I hope not. But it's the Tartaria also has its roots. It kind of buds off of the Nephilim a little bit.
Oh, all right.
There are some people that state maybe the Tartarians are these godly attuned people who survived the flood and thus were like more in tune with the Earth's natural energies when it was created type thing.
Okay.
And that they were able to build these huge structures and have this great hidden mystical empire. And that we, as like Western civilization, co-opted their technology and like wiped them off the map like Neanderthals did to the fucking Cro-Magnon or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah.
And the source I pulled from had this really in-depth, detailed like blog, but then he links to like the people who taught him. So I gotta like preface this for a second.
So this guy that you're getting the source from, he's a believer. He's not just retelling the story.
He's in.
Oh, okay.
Dude's gotta be in, but he gets his source and energy from dudes who like twist it into real hard, no New World Order, like anti-vax, like COVID's not real type shit.
Jesus.
Like they've really spun it out of control. So I'm not going to go that far into it. I'm just going to stay back on this like this acolyte of the Etherical Empire. And he posted all of these pictures of ancient, Renaissance, modern places of worship, churches and cathedrals.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, all of these structures and all of these buildings have a very similar, like, design and architectural layout to them.
Okay.
They all have a spired building with a large sort of like dome or channel at the top and something adorning the top, be it a cross, the sun and stars, some kind of like metal or antenna-like object at the top of these places of worship.
Okay.
You get where I'm going here?
Maybe.
He supposes that most modern religions are subliminally collecting that etherical energy and like pumping it in through their churches.
What?
To like have an effect on worshippers.
But they're doing this subliminally, like accidentally.
I think he kind of says that churches learned this trick a long time ago when we usurped the Tartarians.
Everyone's in on it.
Like we took their etherical energy harvesting abilities and now use it in religion.
That's like the world order.
He says like, oh, you know how people walk into a church and like you feel this sense of calm, you feel this sense of peace flowing through you? That's the etheric energy.
That's very strange. Now, does he say anything like on like the world religions are doing this for a nefarious purpose or
I don't think he attributes too much nefariousness to it, but he does attribute like intentionality. He says they know what they're doing. Or that like churches frequently have they have bells and pipe organs and like instruments because that better embeds the energy into you and they can spread it out over a long distance.
Now, does he say anything about football?
What?
Like, a football goalpost. That's essentially like a giant tuning fork, right?
No, he made a big deal about like acoustic structures, like all of these cones or bulbs on the top of churches, that they do something to sort of help contain and like distribute that energy better.
I see.
Like, you know how like mosques are domed, like that also helps, like contain and distribute that etheric energy.
But he didn't say nothing like the NFLs are using goalposts to get asses in seats.
No, he never said that like the Parisians are sending out like fake vibes from the Eiffel Tower distribution satellite. No, he pretty much associated it with religion.
That's strange. I've never heard of this before.
But then he took it like a step farther, and you can find this a lot about like, hey, don't you think it's weird that like the Dome of the Rock is perfectly equidistant between the Versailles and the White House?
He's bringing up ley lines.
Yes, he puts this right into ley lines, that these like large place of worship structures have like some kind of significance. Like the Machu Picchu pyramids line up so perfectly to like run a line through the pyramids of Giza type stuff.
Yeah.
And
for our listeners out there that don't know, ley lines is a I guess hypothetical concept that for some reason like ancient monuments all line up in some way that creates like some sort of grid that covers the earth. Yeah. And you can pick whatever flavor of the week that you want for why this grid exists. Like this week it's giant tuning fork resonances. But that's pretty much the concept. That's also the point where I started to sort of fade out of this theory. I was like, okay, if we're gonna go into that, like I think I've gotten all the juicy, interesting bits out of this theory. Yeah. But there's one more super, super sweet like trick to this. One of the peer sites said that that there is a certain lack of etheric energy in our current lifestyle. Okay.
That we've polluted our earth with all of this electromagnetism, like all of these radio waves, all of these Wi-Fi signals, all of like so many fucking things bouncing through the atmosphere that the Earth's natural pulse can't cut through anymore.
Oh. What are the repercussions?
People are more irritable. People are more aggressive. There's like depressions on the rise. It's not that, wages have been stagnant since the 70s. It's because there's too many radio waves. Cutting out the Earth's frequency.
5D.
It's like one shade off of the 5G. And
that's great.
He specifically cites the United States as a place with a lack of atmospheric etherical energy. Because
he doesn't want to have to prove it to anyone.
He's got a whole like explanation as to why. He says, like, certain Tartarians in the Noah times were able to cross the sea and come to North America.
Oh.
And that there is a...
Did they beat the Vikings?
They beat the Vikings. They beat that West African guy in the 1300s who actually like discovered America. They beat everyone. And they built a bunch of these tuning, I guess, stations all throughout the United States. Yeah. And that... Okay, I'm gonna take another dive off the deep end. I'm gonna take another layer.
Let's hear it.
That, like, the the oligarchy, like the elites in the late 1800s, knew about these ley lines, about these like signaling frequency towers, and purposely like bought them out, took over those spots and demolished them to reduce atmospheric etheric energy's influence on the United States.
Of course.
That like all of these
simple.
Robber barons were building these huge mega like Rockefeller mansions on spots that were known to be hot spots for etheric energy attuning, and then they all got demolished purposely by like some nefarious countrywide conspiracy to break those points.
What does he say anything about like the DC monument? Like, is that harnessing any energy?
You know, funnily enough, he does not say that the Washington Monument's a big fucking satellite.
So he says nothing about the stuff that is shaped like, you know, shaped like signal towers, tuning forks. Says nothing about that. Conveniently, he just forgot to talk about.
He supposes that all of the real tuning instruments have been destroyed on purpose.
Then how's the church doing it?
They're using their like... So... I don't want to be a defender for this guy, but I see the confusion in your theory and allow me to provide my understanding.
Okay.
So, the Tartarians have their versions of the conductors. Massive, super powerful, gives people superpowers.
Oh?
Those all got destroyed, like the OG tech.
And the church today is using, like, bastard fucking...
Yeah.
Low quality, like 3G.
Yeah, we're getting low atmospheric energy tech now.
Okay.
There was my favorite one was this beautiful like building. Like they were all very massive, very elaborately constructed buildings were these points of tuning.
Yeah.
And that they turned one into a psych ward.
Oh.
To like absorb all that energy and corrupt it so it wouldn't transfer that good like earth energy signal anymore.
Shut the hell.
I thought that one was pretty cool as like a concept.
Yeah. That is pretty cool.
But it's like it gets into the swamp pretty quickly. Like he's taken photos of old mansions and he's like, why do all these old mansions have decorative fireplaces but no fire? What's the point for that? Are they using it to like help send the signal of the Tartarians?
What?
Like it hits a wall at some point. And
Jesus Christ.
You could go into this forever. I feel like I just like read the diary of a crazy person.
Yeah.
To you.
Yeah, kinda.
And all of that. Yeah, I just wanted to inform the folks at home and to you as well that this kind of story's out there, you know?
I mean, you know, maybe when we find the Tartarian superstations, we'll upgrade right to 7G. And you can watch ads in
VR
4K with no buffering.
It was just like the scope of this one was so appealing to me. Like it's from humble scientific beginnings do great things come.
Yeah. Great things.
Yeah, and that's the theory.
At least this guy ain't trying to sell me something like fucking Gwyneth over here.
I mean, he comes from the branch of dudes who are selling the like self-harmonizer, so they kind of are.
All right. Well, I mean, sounds like you're kind of putting a pin in this.
Yeah, I'm kind of exhausted. I feel like I just stood on like a box on the street corner.
Well, I mean, if you're done talking about the Ethereum Empire,
Yeah.
then I would be more than happy to share with you our first viewer experience that was emailed to me.
Oh yeah, let me just like recharge my Earth frequency batteries, and you please give me that listener experience. I'm so glad it finally came.
This comes from a viewer of ours named Gianna. She says, when I was around 4 or 5, I lived in these apartments on the top floor. And I don't recall how I was so scared, but I was refusing to sleep in my room, and my parents asked me what was wrong. And then I told them that I see tigers in the parking lot. And a couple days later, my parents decided to take pictures of the living room with their camera. And when they looked at the pictures, they were filled with orbs, like the fairy lights. And in one picture, they could see a face on the wall, and they said it looked like a tiger or some sort of evil spirit. And later I found out that the apartments were built over a mining disaster where hundreds of people died. So that's pretty crazy.
Oh,
That's just a good old classic ghost story, you know?
I was having a light, refreshing episode, and that shit kind of just like took my breath away.
Really? What part of it is destroying you?
That's haunting. That's terrifying.
The whole thing?
Like them showing up in the photograph?
Yeah, that is pretty nutso.
Like, oh my god.
I just don't know how tigers correlate with a mining disaster. But, I mean, I don't make the ghost rules.
Like, do you think maybe the miners, you know, in the process of reincarnation were coming back as a tiger?
I don't know, but that's definitely interesting.
Oh my gosh.
You know, you see that where, like, you ever look at, like, an animal and it's just staring off into space, and you're just like,
what are you looking at? Yeah.
You know? Or, like, she sees tigers in the parking lot.
That's a tremendous, like single line. Oh.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's like from, The Ramp.
Do you remember The Ramp, too?
That's when I was like, what the fuck is going on right now?
It reminds me of, you'll see the photos of, like, recently deceased people or something, and they'll claim, like, you see that wisp of the soul floating away.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
I'm sorry that happened to you. That's haunting.
Yeah, but if you got any more stories like that, send them in. Send them into the show.
I mean, hopefully you moved out of the tiger spirit apartment.
Yeah, I hope so as well.
That like brings me back when I was a very young child. The first apartment that I have memories of faced out into a cornfield, because of course it fucking did. And
of course it fucking did.
What's that?
Is this where I think it is?
Ooh.
Or is this a different apartment complex?
Oh, this is a totally different apartment complex. I'm talking like 3, 4 years old, like early memory stuff.
Okay.
And even as like a kid, I remember like looking out those back windows and like looking at the vast expanse of cornfields and feeling a little creepy about it.
Your first experience with the void.
Yeah, feeling the corn void, I think, had an effect on me as a youth.
You're 10 times more likely in this day and age to find a whack-ass haunted apartment than you are a house. I don't know what it is about apartments, but they're fucking doing something. Right?
Something's just like... it's not a good place to be, yeah.
Well, Gianna, thank you for sending in your experience. If anyone out there has any experiences that they would like to share with us at the show, you can hit us up at supermadtower@gmail.com. No caps, no spaces. You could hit me up personally on Twitter at MadTowerRadio, Instagram, also at MadTowerRadio. If you know me in real life, you can just shoot me a text.
Oh, yeah. shoot me a text.
Anything. But that's really all I got for this episode, Christian.
Sure. No, I'm ready to put a button in it.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week. Same place, same time. But for now, this is Mad Tower Radio, ending transmission.
A frequency beyond space and time.
Unspeakable knowledge. It is Mad Tower Radio.